Janice Edwards, and yes, we want to be starting something tonight. We are on location at HP Pavilion in San Jose. Carl Ray is a performer whose life was forever altered when, as a teen, he witnessed his father's murder by a white supremacist. His one-man show, A Killing in Choctaw, chronicles his reaction and the impact on his life. And now he's written a book entitled Cured: The Power of Forgiveness. Carl, nice to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Tell me a little bit about what inspired this particular work. I mean, you've done the play for a number of years, and now this book.
Well, basically, everywhere I go, people have been asking for years, when are you going to write a book? When are you going to write a book? So I said, okay, it's time. And it took me 3 or 4 years to do it, but it's coming to fruition now.
And do you really feel like you are cured of the anger? Why don't you tell a little bit of the backstory with that?
Well, a little of the backstory is my father was killed because I said yes and no to a white man. And in those days, it was disrespectful. So he beat me up, and an hour later he came to my house and told my father I was going to have to leave. Next thing, he pulled out a gun, hit him, and I hit him. And as I held on to him, he shot him 8 times and killed him.
And so how did that impact your life?
Oh, that basically changed my life tremendously. I mean, I lost the will to do everything. I suffered from depression, anxiety. For years, it was real rough for me.
And what turned it around?
Well, basically, I met a man who talked to me about forgiveness about 22 years later, and that changed it. The greatest moment in my life was when I forgave the man who killed my father. Oh, it was amazing.
A lot of people have experienced horrible things, and they find it difficult to forgive. In that moment, what did that man say, and how did it begin to change your life?
Well, he was a stranger, and he began to say things about life that I didn't understand. And I wanted to prove a point to him. And I just told him I was going to tell him something I never talked about. And I told him about it. And when I finished, very calmly, he said, well, if you want to be free, forgive the man and get on with your life. And I got very upset for him insulting me. And I was very angry, and he pushed my button. I didn't want anything to do with him. Stop talking to him. So finally he said, I'll never bother you again. Just let me hear you say the words. I'll leave you alone. And I was just so angry, man, I would say anything. But when I said the words, it was like I was on a different planet. Amazing feeling.
And so that's why you're now writing the book Cured: The Power of Forgiveness. What do you hope other people will take away from this?
The thing that I want people to take away from this, no matter what tragedy have happened to you, no matter what people have done to you, forgiveness is not about them or the incident. It's about your freedom. So forgiveness is personal. The day you want to set yourself free, forgive whoever you have something against.
Is it as simple as just saying, I forgive you, or are there other steps you need to take as well?
Well, mine was instant. But basically, there are steps you need to take. For me, fortunately, it happened like that. It came in a moment of anger. But I've talked to a lot of people since then, and hearing me speak or watching my play back and forth through emails, they have told me how they have begun to make that journey towards forgiveness.
And as you mentioned, A Killing in Choctaw, we are going to take a look at an excerpt of that, and then we'll continue our interview.
Bill drove up in the yard, got out of his truck, walked over to the porch and told Dad I was going to have to leave because I didn't know how to talk to white folks. Daddy told him I was going away to college. Bill reached in his pocket, pulled out a gun, struck Daddy across the forehead. I hit Bill across the head with a Clorox ball. The 3 of us tumbled off the porch. As we held on to Bill, he raised his hand with the gun in it, cocked it, reached over, shot Dad in the chest 8 times. It happened that quick. But in my mind, it happened in slow motion. I saw everything, every little detail. As we held on to Bill, he raised his hand with the gun in it. He took his empty hand and he reached over and he cocked the .45 automatic. Clack, clack! And from this position, he began to fire. And each time he pulled the trigger, a bright flame came out of the gun barrel. And it made those popping sounds. Pop! 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 Pop!
Each time a bullet hit Daddy's body would flinch. Dust particles from his clothes began to float up and mix with the smoke from the gun barrel. Daddy begins to fall forward in slow motion. Bill continued to fire. Pop! 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 Daddy fall to the ground. Take his last breath. Immediately after Daddy took his last breath, there was total silence. It's like I was in a vacuum chamber watching a movie with no sound. I could see Bill take his hand and wipe his forehead while I hit him with the bottle and look at it. Then he turned to walk to his truck. And when he got to his truck, the calm was broken. All hell broke loose. I was yelling and screaming out of control. Aunt Did and Moses was screaming, God, no, why? God, no. Mama. Mama was calm. She didn't bat an eye. It's like she and Dad had rehearsed this scene 1,000 times. First words out of her mouth, you calm down. Don't you do nothing. Your daddy wants you to go to college. Now, while Mama was calming us down, Bill got in his truck and he drove away. Town is 4 miles if you take the dirt road to the highway and go in the town, or 3 miles if you take the trail through the valley. I took the trail through the valley to get the sheriff. I ran, I cried, I screamed, God, no, why? God, no, why? At one point in the valley, I couldn't run any. It seemed like I just stopped, and my body kept going, leaving me behind. Short distance where the trail into another dirt road a white family lived. They were outside when I got to their house. They could hear me screaming a mile away. I remember telling what happened, and everything went blank until we got back home. See, Bill had gone to town and told Sheriff he'd killed Daddy. They were there when we got back home. Daddy's body was still laying on the ground. Everybody's trying to calm me down. I was just throwing up. Seemed like my insides were coming out. And I just kept begging Daddy to get up. Get up. I'm going to college. You got to see me go. I began to play this game with myself. This is a nightmare. This is just a nightmare. Hey, I'm dreaming. When I wake up, everything's going to be cool. This is a nightmare. Yes. And I played that game until the funeral. But when I saw his body in the church, reality set in. And when they took him outside and put him in the ground, I began a nightmare that would last a lifetime.
Carl, it is a powerful play, and I should say now you changed the name because of this journey that you've taken. What's the name of the play now?
It's not called The Power of Forgiveness. And I changed the name because when I first wrote the play, A Killing in Choctaw, I was very angry. And that's what I felt. It was a killing. It was a lynching, and I wrote from that perspective. But after going through forgiving myself and the joy of that, then it was all about forgiveness, so I changed the name.
You know, when we talk about the power of forgiveness and that ability to have it change a life, we're out here in front of the HP Pavilion because we showed a preview of Michael Jackson Immortal Tour by Cirque du Soleil. When we think about Michael Jackson as an artist, of course, the legacy is incredible, but the pain he experienced as a person too is something that has been just become a part of what we understand about him, and even a part of the trials and other information that came out that showed a different side of that man. As you think about the impact of Michael Jackson, and you grew up in 1962, that was when this killing occurred, what are your thoughts about his impact upon performances? How has he affected your life?
I think he's affected the world, not just my life. I think through his music, it's going to live for generations. And he talked about peace, he talked about love, unity, things that we as people should come together to do. And one of my favorite songs is The Mirror, The Man in the Mirror. And when he talks about the man in the mirror, he says, I'm going to start with me. And I think of a lot of the world leaders, the power leaders, would look in the mirror, those who can make real effect, because effect coming from the top, change. So I think that's the most dynamic piece that he put out, though I love everything that he put out, but I love that particular bit that he put out, song rather.
The Man in the Mirror, make that change.
Make that change. And I used to listen to that song when I was trying to forgive myself, because forgiving a man was easy. Forgiving myself, that was tough to do. And I would always look in the mirror and I'd try to make that change, and I just couldn't make that change of forgiving myself for years.
But now you've been able to do it.
But now I've been able to do it by looking in the mirror, and I feel good about the guy I see in the mirror now.
Well, that's a powerful testimony. Carl, it's always great to see you, and thank you for bringing us this new book, Cured, The Power of Forgiveness.
Thank you.